Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei and I'm so excited to paint with you today. Today we're going to do another page in our watercolor journals, and for supplies and materials I'll go over really quick. I'm using a 6x9 watercolor sketchbook. This is a Bauhong brand. It's 100% cotton paper, 140 pound cold press. I'm using my Core QOR by Golden watercolor paints. This is my mini palette. This is just a little extra space for me to mix on up here. And then I have a sampling of a bunch of round brushes that I have. So I have a size 12, a size 6, a size 3, and a liner brush, round brushes. These happen to be Silver Black Velvet and an Aqua Elite, but whatever you have on hand will work great. I also have a pencil and I'm going to start sketching out, and maybe I will use some ink, but we'll get to that if I get to that point. But I'm going to do some flowers in a container. I'm going to try to replicate something a little more vintagey feeling, kind of like that. Not porcelain. Porcelain will not be the name. It's like the enameled. So, oh, I know. I have something here. It's like I have these enameled butcher trays. They have a slightly blue tint to the edge on it. And then these white enameled, but they made like watering cans and other containers out of those as well. I just remember having things like that, like on my grandmother's porch. So I'm going to attempt to just create something reminiscent of that, maybe. All right, so I'm just starting with the top here. So just a bowed, try to draw a little darker for you with this pencil. So just a little bowed top there. This is where my flowers are going to come out of. I don't want to make this too big. Make it a little wider at the base. I thought about making a watering can, but then I was like, oh, then I have to get into the handle and the spout and all of that. But so I'm just going to make it a container of some kind. All right, so we have just this container. It's going to be opaque. You can't see through it, so we don't have to worry about water, anything like that. We'll get into shadows. It's going to be white, but we will still have to paint shadows and give it some shape and dimension. I'm just going to make this top a little bit thicker. And then out of it, I'm going to do just kind of a sparse scattering of stems and flowers. It doesn't have to be completely full. And I'm just kind of creating a little bit of a composition for myself. Some will be taller and some will be a little shorter. Okay, so let's start by painting this container down here. I am going to use, well, I'm gonna have to clean up this mixing palette a little bit. I don't need that much green for this one. I'm going to use some Payne's gray. I just dip my paper towel in water. And just clean off a nice little space. Okay, I'm going to use some Payne's gray. So let's get that. You know what? Let's just put a little water on all of these. If you have a spray bottle, that can work well in pan paints. Okay, so Payne's gray. And we're going to go pretty light, so lots and lots of water. And basically, I'm just going to create some and that looks pretty dark, but when it all comes together, it won't be. I'm basically just leaving some white spots. There we go, give it a little shape, it's a little rounded on this edge. A little shadow here. right, and let's do the rim, which is going to be a dark, dark blue. I'm going to use Ultramarine. I'll probably do more than one layer. Maybe even leave a little white spot for like a highlight, because it is an enameled surface, so it does reflect a little bit of light. I don't want to get too close to the edge there. So this edge is coming down. I'm going to make the whole thing wider, but that has to dry still. So we're going to wait for that to dry. And you know, I think I might even bring in a little bit of a warmer color. Let's see, we have some brown here. This is a burnt umber. I'm going to bring some of this into I switched brushes, by the way. And we'll definitely do a shadow on the bottom afterwards. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry. I'll do another layer on this blue little rim here, but let's put in some simple flowers. We don't have to get crazy. They don't have to be hyper realistic. I'm gonna go ahead and put in, I'm not gonna do the stems first. Let's switch to our size 6 brush. I'm going to go with a magenta and yellow, but you know what? I'm going to add a little Payne's gray or a little green to this magenta to make it more, let's add a little green, more of a burgundy color, I think. Give it a little bit more of a vintage vibe. So I'm going to do some petaled flowers with a yellow center. And let's do like a big one up here. Leaving some white spots. All kind of connecting or coming to the same center point, but not touching, because we're going to leave space. Make this one a little shorter. It's like falling towards you. Leave space for our centers, our yellow centers. Just dropping in some darker color towards the middle. You can always wait for them to dry a little bit more before you do that as well. So there's one. And let's throw in a couple of others. And I'm just going to be so I'm basically being very sketchy with my brush, but I'm going to be a little cognizant of the shape. So this one, these are kind of flat and tilted away. So anything in the front here will be very flat and you'll only kind of see the edge of it. And our center will be right in here. Put a little something up here. But giving them different, excuse me, giving them different shapes, like not just making them all flat and facing you. You could have one even like fully upward, so you're only seeing the sides. So we won't see a center at all in this one. And it's tilted in another direction. Let's see, we'll put maybe another one out here, nice and big. So you can see I'm like going from the flat of my brush to make big shapes, and then just lifting up pressure to get to the tip of my brush to make smaller, thinner shapes and lines. And let's see, let's do maybe one more little one in here. Just kind of a flutter of a shape. And I think I'm going to do another little flutter side shape one over here. Again, we can bring in some more color to like the bases and centers. And they're still very damp because I'm working on 100% cotton paper, so they're still going to spread. And I'm using pure magenta right now. I haven't added any green to this. But you can wait for them to dry even more if you want a harder, harsher line with whatever you're adding and you don't want it to bleed out as much. But I think we're good here. So now I'm going to add, let's add some stems. I have some green here. It's just sap green with a little Payne's gray to give it a little bit cooler, more of an olive kind of green look. I'm gonna get right up on this tip of my brush. And if you'd prefer to use like the liner brush for this because it's easier for you, by all means, just throwing in some extra lines in here for greenery. And we will do our centers in just a second. This one's going to be just some leaves. So I was originally thinking I might do some ink in here, ink and wash, but I think I'm going to leave it as is. Oh, I got to connect this one. I never gave this one a stem that it connects to. Okay, so let's go back to our blue line here, and then we'll go to the center of our flowers. This one is nice and quick and easy, and you can kind of play with it longer if you want, but we're almost done. So I'm using my size 3 brush to really get in here. And I'm even leaving some of the lighter blue to show through. So those can translate as highlights as well. And I like how this dried. I'm going to add a little bit more, just a little bit more Payne's gray to a few spots. Give it a little bit of a rough quality to it. I know it's an enameled metal, so it is smooth, but like it's lived a life. It's lived a life out on a porch somewhere. Again with the brown, I kind of like this warm addition with some texture. So dry brushing over top of it. So I have very little water and paint on my brush. and it gives it that like textury feel. But preserving these white spots, so it does still translate as a white object. All right, I think I'm going to let that dry, and it's going to, this might have been a little too much in here, but I like it. It is going to lighten up as it dries as well. Okay, let's go back to our small brush. Let's get some yellow going. So I want some yellow, so I have a cadmium yellow. No, this is a bismuth yellow. And I'm also going to add some yellow to my magenta to create an orange. This yellow is pretty opaque for a watercolor. Just throwing that out there. All right, so we're just gonna kind of dabble our way into the centers here. Dab, dab, dab. And I'm gonna add some of the orange just to give it a little depth, a little darker color. And the rest of those you can't see their centers. And you could even go in and add a few specks of black or gray. And I think if I was using ink, I would definitely add some darker spots in the middle with my ink. All right, there we go. A nice little loose flowers in this nice little container, this enameled metal container. Hopefully it translates like that. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to check out the description for links to supplies and materials. Go ahead and like this video or subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And feel free to leave a comment, share with a friend, or save it for later as well if you aren't ready to dive right in. All right, y'all, thanks for painting with me. As always, it's a pleasure, and we will be doing another page in our watercolor journals very soon. And I'm just realizing I told you I would add a shadow to the bottom, and you definitely can. So if you want to stick around for like another minute, you can be part of the shadow adding process also. So I'm going to just do very light Payne's gray. We're going to get right down on the base here. And we're just going to have our shadow kind of off to the side a little bit. Because it looks like there's a little bit more of a highlight. We don't have a really strong direct light in here. So I just rinsed off my brush. It's just damp now. I'm just softening the edges of this whole thing. You don't have to make your shadow super big. Mine is a little big. I am going to go back right to the edge with some darker Payne's gray. Where the vessel meets the actual ground. And just darken that line just a little bit. Take a little brush. Just going to blend that out a tiny bit just so it's even, but I want that to stay much darker than the rest of the shadow. There we go. All right, now we have our finished piece. All right, y'all, take care, happy painting, and I'll see you again soon.